Karma came to my wife after I caught her cheating. A few weeks ago I noticed someone enter my house on the recently installed doorbell cam but never saw them leave. The next day the footage was deleted. So after going into detective mode and starting the 180, my STBXW knew me too well and figured out that I was onto her. She figured I had seen some kind of evidence and figured it was likely the recently installed doorbell cam she erased. I was in the process of installing in-home cams and VARs. But she actually ended up confessing and admitting to an ongoing long-lasting, about 1 year, pretty much the whole time I was away helping my elderly parent most of the week, affair, and that I deserved better. She says she's going to be fair in our divorce and will sell our house and split the proceeds. She is likely even to end up paying me alimony for some period of time, or a lump sum. We'll split most of the debt, but the house sale will likely just clear that and leave a little to start over. It's so disappointing. So anticlimactic, so unfair. I'll admit I had let the anger build within me and wanted to exact revenge somehow. But there really is not many to expose her to who would care. There's no one on the AP side to expose to. He's single, well divorced, and to be honest was more informed about the state of my marriage than I was clearly. It's not even a close relationship they had. It's not even likely this was her first time. But I just let it go without pain shopping for more hurt. It comes at a very pivotal time for me as I am dealing with resolving my elder care issues, and just don't have the energy or desire to fight for anything. She offered to try and fix things, but we both know there is too much pain and wrong with us already, and she has known how broken I still am over being cheated on before we got together over 25 years ago. Some scars never really heal. I'd recently started to realize that maybe my whole relationship was a rebound. But I'm a dedicated person and once I commit I'm all in. I just did that too soon I guess. Now well I don't even think people and relationships are worth it. I can't see trusting anyone ever again. So there it is, no confrontation, no revenge, no exposure, no reason anymore, just two terrible, dispassionate lives torn apart, and now I have to find a way to rebuild myself without my pride and ego. Just another failure in a long list of them in my life. Life as I knew it is now over, and I just am moving on autopilot to handle things. I don't want to go home, but have to pack and get the house ready to put on the market. Then I have to find an apartment, etc. I don't even know where I want to live. It's all just so crappy. I wasted more than half my life on someone. It's all just a void ahead of me, and the only reason I get out of bed is to care for my parent. I guess not having kids is the only blessing. Since once divorce is done I won't have to be in contact with her, but that will take time. Every time I hear her voice it just opens up the pain again. My pain shopping is looking back at all our pictures, and the otherwise good times we'd had. I just don't understand why I am so stuck in the past and mourning something I thought I was ready to leave anyway. I lay awake analyzing everything I did wrong, how I wasn't ever good enough for anyone. Why I deserve to be treated like crap. How crap my life is and why I am always the one on the losing end. Now I'm old, broken and undeserving of this crap life. No hopes and no dreams, just alone in my own thoughts. More thoughts from later last night. She hasn't even called or texted me since I left. I did say not to. And meant it, she knew I did I guess. But not one more sorry, not one are you okay? Is she just sitting home watching a show like it's just any other Tuesday? Or maybe not. The Christmas before last, we were talking and discussing how we got to a dead bedroom. One of the things I said at the time was that years ago, about 10 to 15, we went through many premature births from IVF. I remembered that after for a long time closeness actually kind of scared me. That I was terrified of getting her pregnant by accident and us losing it again. That it had driven both of us to need mental health help, and we both barely got out of the deepest of depressions only with help and luck. Now I have certainly since compounded matters after her confession of cheating for about a year. I said something very nasty. That she deserved to lose all of our kids, since this is the type of person she is. Not sure, but I may at least send her any apology text about that statement. But do you think that saying over a year ago about my fears back then caused her to flash back to that painful time and then cheat on me? The only person I ever told that to was my therapist at the time, and we just discussed ways to get over my fear. I think we decided it was something I wasn't ready to discuss with her at the time. Maybe she blames me for all our years of DB. Maybe it is all my fault. Oh God, what have I done? After consideration and against better judgment, probably I called. Knew she wouldn't likely pick up. Left a voicemail apologizing for what I said. That it was hurtful and not true. That I'm sorry we ended up here, but I know it's over. Let's handle it like 50-year-olds, not like the 20-somethings we were when we met. I said I hope you find what you need. And left it at that. My wife called me last night. She appreciated my apology and knew the things I had said were to try to hurt her. We didn't discuss too much other than her apologizing again and blah blah blah. I did tell her I would be coming home this weekend and that I needed her not to be there. It was kind of civil mostly. But I told her I don't care where she goes. I told her she can stay with her BF since he's who she wanted anyway. She of course denied this and kept saying she wants me back and that we can work this out. To please give her one chance. That she'd never done anything like this and would do anything to make it up. I'll admit I wanted nothing more than to go back in time to any time other than the last year. That I would even go to the worst times in our lives instead of now. But I stayed strong this time and said I don't see any way we can be together now. That it was a year, and I just can't imagine feeling the same for her. I only asked one question about it. I asked how many times. She was quiet for a long time. But I refused to say anything. She asked if I really want to know, and that she didn't want to hurt me more. I just said I need to know. That's when she crushed me so much more. She said it was only a few times in the beginning. But after about a month it was almost every day that I was away, and even some weekends when she said she was at the gym for about 6 months, but in that last few months it had been about once or twice a week while I was away. I almost threw up. I muted the call so I could let some of that pain out. So she had closeness with him more times in a year than we have in the past 10 to 15 years. Like hundreds of times. More than we maybe even had in the beginning of our relationship. I wanted to ask more questions, but I was too hurt and ashamed. I wanted to ask if he was better, bigger, and what they did. What did he do that I couldn't? But I just couldn't take any more. I just said again, you should just go to him this weekend so I can be alone at home and go through and get some more of my important things. I don't even have a permanent place to take them. I've been awake and went and got a bottle of good scotch. Now I have to work and take care of my parent hungover. So as I thought we had agreed, I back at the house to gather some things. I get here and thank goodness she's nowhere in sight. So I'm gathering some documents I had forgot when I left last weekend. Then packing some clothes and other things. All good, going faster than I thought, wearing my AirPods and playing some good tunes to keep positive as possible. Go into the basement and packing up a few things up from there. It's hard as hell, but I'm kind of determined to keep moving before I get to down. As I'm in the basement I hear faintly over the tunes the sound of water running in the pipes. It's going for a few before I noticed. I walk upstairs and hear the shower going upstairs. I'm like, what the actual duck? I make myself a cup of coffee and decide it's better for me to go out to my car. At first I was going to drive away. But stupidly I just sit there in the driveway. I am like stunned as hell. I start writing a longish nasty text. But don't want anything like that as evidence of whatever. So I decide I'm just going to sit there and wait for her to leave again, hopefully. My new neighbor is walking by and stops to introduce himself, cause by now I'm standing outside my car having a smoke. I don't tell him anything but try to be cordial. As we are about to part ways, the garage door opens, and she's standing behind her car and asks to speak to me. I actually have to stand through introductions from this new neighbor and my wife. Of course we don't discuss much, and I think even he can see the tension and leaves. We go inside and I am still dumbstruck. I just ask, why are you here? She proceeds to tell me how she can't check into the place she's staying until later today, and was at the gym, that freaking gym. And she wanted to shower and grab some more things. She figured I wouldn't mind. She said that when she came in and didn't see me around, then heard me in the basement, that she could come and go and it wouldn't be a problem. I just stood there wondering, who the duck is this person in front of me? Luckily, after a very brief and awkward apology on her part for everything. Then a request that maybe we shouldn't be so rash while things are raw. Maybe we can try more counseling. She knows we still love each other, blah blah. I just looked her in the eye and said no. Please leave, I have things to do, and you agreed to stay away. I said this is what you caused, and went back to the basement. I just sat here typing this, trying to control myself and my blood pressure. But I just heard the garage door open and close, so thankfully she's gone. Now I'm just a bit of a mess. Wanting to get back to my state of busy and keep packing, but my bourbon collection is staring me in the face. I'll admit I already had one good belt earlier. I know if I have another this early today will be even more of a bust. So here it goes. Sunday, after another sleepless night filled with packing things and much anguish. All of it was so hard. The memories, pics and items we picked out together. Our wedding album and other things just brought out more of the emotions I had been trying to keep in check. But I had pushed through and kept getting to the things I knew were most important to me. Unfortunately, one item brought me the most pain. The sealed urn with all of our children's ashes. We had planned that as one or both of us passed, we would combine our ashes and have a remaining relative scatter them together in the ocean near our favorite beach. Well, I guess that plan is off now. But here is the thing, I don't know if it's wrong that I want it with me. I mean, I know I have to discuss this with her eventually. But I really don't know how that will go. I don't know if we can have it opened and split the remains. That still feels wrong, like neither of us is getting them. If that is even possible or even a thing. I will ask my attorney upon retaining, I guess. I didn't mention it to her since my confidence in her was below zero at that point. But here's the real reason for this update. Sunday evening, I'm about packed with things I am taking with me for now. I just wanted to have enough that if I could not tolerate coming back for a few weeks at least. Along with a few more important keepsakes, documents, etc. I knew she was supposed to return after 9 as we discussed and didn't really want to be there. I had resisted the urges to dismantle all the electronics, reset the router, etc. Out of spite. So I felt like the bigger person for once was actually coming out in me with the help of some supportive calls from a friend, some DMs here and comments, etc. Anyway, it's now about 7, and I am loading the last bits in my car. Well, guess what? No shocker here, I'm sure. But yep, she shows up. Comes in looking a bit shaken, but not nearly the look of death warmed over like I felt I had. She starts off saying how it looked like I was ready to leave again. If I really had to go so early, and could I at least talk to her? I was already frustrated that she was even there and wanting to be stronger than I knew I was. I said I didn't want to be too late, and I had to get back in time for the weekend help with my parent to be relieved. That I only had a few minutes, but if there is something important she can tell me, and if needed I could call her while driving. She then says she understood, but that she really needed me to know what was going on with her this weekend. And really wished we could talk without me being angry. She said she spent the weekend alone. Not sure I believe this, but considering all that had happened and what she's done to us. That she knew I couldn't forgive what she's done, but that she does and will always love me and be in love with me forever. That she knows I don't believe this now, but that she was so angry with herself for hurting me so bad and destroying the only man who ever loved her unconditionally, and was always there for her. I was doing my best to just not shout, sob, hug her or anything, and just give her the stoic look of indifference. I'll admit I failed. My eyes watered up, but I struggled to not let the tears fall. Yeah, I failed at that too. But didn't really speak. I figured I'd just listen and hope to still just leave after she said what she had to. I listened to her say many things and justifications, reasons why she thought she did this for so long. Why she didn't stop herself. Why even when she thought I knew, she thought I just didn't or wouldn't care. How she had thought I must have been cheating for so many years. How I never seemed to want her. How we had been just roommates. How she still knew I was the only man she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. How she wanted to come to me so many times and confess. But that she knew I would never be able to accept it, and her back if she told me what she did. At every point she kept saying she knew it was all on her, and that it wasn't my fault. That she was going to get counseling, etc., to figure out why she did all this for so long, etc. That our life together had been destroyed because we had everything she wanted, and that she had felt she could have lived the rest of our lives and never had closeness again, that she had accepted that. That I could be with other people if I want. All seemed to be standard cheater speak. But as I thought, she finally said our conversation Christmas before last she got really angry that I was actually scared of closeness with her for fear of getting her pregnant again. That we hadn't gotten pregnant before without IVF, and I was just using it as an excuse. That she felt I never really wanted her or a family, especially when I didn't want to adopt. She caught herself getting upset more every day after, and the only thing she felt we were missing in our life was closeness and family, and how I had kept it from her. That she was so angry because if that was true, then she knew I had always blamed her for our child losses, and lied every time I said I never blamed her. That she felt I was disgusted by her for so long because she lost them, and I could never let it go. But that all those years she loved me enough for both of us. That when my parent got sicker and had been out of the hospital, she thought I was just using it as an excuse to be away from her. That all at once it had clicked in her head. And she knew everything she had feared was true. That she just wanted to be loved, and that I didn't and was just lying the whole time. That the so-called gym guy was never even in the picture, or a possibility until all these things got to her. That she had never even thought of being unfaithful. That she wasn't even very emotional with him in the beginning and originally did it the first time out of spite. That after then she had realized how much she missed closeness, and though he had feelings for her, she kept telling him it was only about the closeness. That she had no intention of leaving me. She said she never really talked about me to him, but that seems like a lie now. But she had grown a connection eventually, and let him in some more, telling him she hadn't felt like this in years, but it was nothing like what we shared. She eventually got to the part where she again says that it was over, and she was only hoping I could forgive her, and please talk to her again to see if we could find a path forward. That even if we had to split now, could we take some time before divorcing? That she knows how bad what she did was, but that I had been dishonest for so many years about this, and should give her the chance she deserved. At this point I'll admit I broke and said, "Chance you deserve for a year of cheating?" I told you when I said about my fears in the past that I had worked through this in therapy long ago, and had never said this before for fear of this exact situation. That no matter how hard I tried in the past few years, she just wasn't responding to anything. That all the things I was trying to do to reach out, be more engaged, more romantic, more connected were just tried once or twice, and she never had put much effort in. That I figured opening up my deepest secret with her could bring us closer, and show her that I just wanted her. But instead she used it against me to cheat and destroy my life. That I was so destroyed I was thinking of ending almost daily. She said she had been thinking of doing the same but couldn't do that to me. I admit I screamed at her then and said, "But you can do this to me? For a year?" But I calmed back down and said that I could never see being open and vulnerable to her or anyone else ever again. That now that I know how she weaponized my fears, weakness, and honesty against me, I would never be the same person. That I had feared this was the catalyst after thinking about everything last week about how, and when it happened, according to her. But that I was still not sure I believed her that she had not done this before. I was already about 45 minutes later than I planned to leave. I knew I would have to rush up the highway, and wasn't nearly in a correct state of mind. But left soon after, saying I would think some more about what she said, and if I had questions or more to say I would call her from the road. But while driving, all I could do was play some really loud music and cry in excruciating pain that my thoughts of causing this were confirmed. It was an even more painful ride than the first one I took after D-Day. I didn't call her again in the end. But now that I'm sitting here in the sobering light of day, I wonder about how I not only caused this, but also if there is even the slightest possibility that she's seen my posts, and is using it to say these things. TBH, she has no real social media usage, and I doubt she even uses Reddit at all. It was never on her phone, tablet, or in her DL history and app store. Also, how I could be so stupid to let my guard down with anyone. That's some things you just can't ever share. That if I had never opened up, I wouldn't be here. That this is only karma since I was at the point of leaving by last fall anyway. That I am just moving on autopilot anymore, and this only proves I should just put up the front to everyone that I'm this happy guy and never let that guard down again. That everything I had I ruined. I'm still having my attorney consult and trying to keep the path, since I still don't know how I can come back to her after this. But the truth is she just tore my heart open again and ripped everything I had been holding on to keep me going. Sent via her work email. Me, ex I have retained to represent me in legal our affairs. Let me know who to put them in touch with. You should seek counsel in this matter your actions created. X, I thought we could talk about this again, at least how to handle this. Please call me back. I'm sorry. I can't imagine how you must feel. I know I don't deserve a chance or a conversation before you do what you feel you need to. But maybe we need time for things to calm down. I know your opinion of me, and it's likely better than I deserve. I'd like to discuss counseling with you and get into more, but I'd really like to communicate these personal matters away from my work email. Can you just text or call me? Me, I'll be busy with work and P's move. I just needed to let you know. But I will use your personal email for this matter going forward. X, thanks, please think about what I said. I hope you have someone to talk to now. I understand how alone you must feel. I know how you always carry everyone else instead of yourself. How is P doing? Is P handling the move okay? Please tell P I love them too. I'm so very sorry. Call soon please love. I just thought. P, my parent, is losing everything they own, their home of 50 plus years and memories since they're moving into a facility. How the hell do you think a person with dementia feels being moved? How do you think they feel having to be told nearly every day because they forgot? Then going through the emotions of it all over again. I have been trying to be as gentle as possible with it, of course. But we are going through things to see what they really want with them. After thinking about the exchange more, it stuck with me the how she mentioned not sending ish to work. At first I thought, well, I get it, personal ish / work email, okay. But also I'm pretty sure she must have been using her work phone for this. Her personal one always left out and clean as a whistle. Hell, I updated it for her new watch last Christmas. I guess I could have still missed it though. Off we go. Update. It's been about a month since my last post on the crap that has become of my life and my WW. I am just doing this since things have gotten better and worse at the same time. You can check my post history if you want the lengthy backstory. Long story shortened. Wife of 25 plus years cheated for about a year, while I was away from home most of the week taking care of my elderly parent. So good news is my parent has been in a care facility for a bit over a month now. And seems to be adjusting pretty well. I visit often and they are generally happy to see me and still recognizes me most of the time. I have also packed or sold all of their stuff and hoping to complete the real estate transaction this week. I also have a better place to stay for the short term, with a friend who lives close to work, and have moved in for the time being. I considered renting an apartment right away, but this worked well in the short term. Now to the rest of it. I did have her served with divorce papers. But she had her attorney respond in a contentious manner. Very recently I had to deal with a maintenance issue at my old home. Luckily not too damaging, but significant enough that it had to be handled quickly. When I arrived to deal with it, luckily, I thought, she was not around. I met with the contractor and handled this, and was to be out hopefully before she returned. It did take several hours. But I was able to move stuff in the way and get the issue fixed. Well, of course my luck could not be that good. I got a call from a doctor later that day that she had been admitted to the hospital. I am still her emergency contact and still her husband, so no real surprise there. Sometime before I had come over, she had called an ambulance believing she was having a heart attack. This proved to be a panic attack. But as told to me, she told them she was having constant self-harming thoughts and was admitted for observation. She has been in there ever since, so I had to call her boss, and let them know she would be out for medical reasons for a while. After speaking with the doctor, I determined that I would have to go and see her. Her doctor said I was allowed to visit since she requested, but told me that if I did I would need to be non-confrontational since she was still in a delicate state. I was in a very confused state on my own since I really didn't want to, as it sounded like standard cheater script BS. But I still care for her and don't actually want her to harm herself, and not be able to take care of herself going forward. She has in the past, due to totally unrelated issues, been in care for mental health a lot of years ago, along with another chronic health issue all of her life. During that time I was there 100% and did everything I could to bring her back from the brink. Also selfishly, I don't want it to affect her ability to handle our business together. I was able to speak with my friend about it, and they said it's of course up to me what to do about visiting her. I also spoke with my attorney after the first couple visits. They just stated to be cautious, not to make any promises, or statements that could be used against me, etc. I knew before visiting that this is also kind of standard for cheaters to use ending attempt as manipulation. But considering her history, I am also aware that this is a very likely true and serious state that she is in. I know. I shouldn't be sucked in by anything that is just a consequence of her actions. I don't want to retard my progress in moving forward with my life. I just have a part of me that needs to be there for her. It sucks totally that I have these feelings and still wish none of this had happened. But it did. I feel like I have been very firm with her, but seeing her in such a state would likely cause setbacks. Before you jump on my case, I cannot abandon her, it's just not in me. She really has no one else. Her only real friend lives far away, and is currently dealing with her own serious medical condition. So I let her doctor know I would visit her in the hospital, and did so the following day. When I got there she was a mess. I had brought some things she would likely need, as it sounded like she would likely be there for at least a few days. When I arrived she was still sleeping with N4 in her and various monitors, none of which seemed mental health related, but I figured maybe dehydration or something. But all I could think was how I had seen her sleep so many times, and how she always looked beautiful sleeping like the person I wanted and so peaceful. As I was just sitting there for a long while watching her, she started to wake up and all the feelings of anger and betrayal started to come back. But I held it together. She finally woke up, surprised to see me there. She begged me for a hug and forgiveness, etc. I said I was there to make sure she was okay, that I was worried about her, that I wasn't here to talk about us. We were pretty civil about the whole thing, but lots of tears on her side. We talked for a long time. Then she hit me with another nuke to my world. During her visit to the gyno for STD tests and checkup, they found something that was still being assessed. Oh boy, I thought, here we go. This crazy bee caught an STD, and I was going to hear about it. Or maybe fortunately not the case. She was found to have fairly aggressive ovarian cancer. Now I'm no expert, but I know that usually that type of cancer is like a death sentence. I actually had to step out of the room to gather myself for a minute. I had all these emotions going through me and didn't want her to see them. I composed myself and went back in, and we talked for a long time. In our talk I eventually agreed to help her however I can, though I wanted to tell her to get her BF to take care of her now. But I was clear that it had nothing to do with us being together. That I thought she would do the same for me if the situation were reversed. But who knows? Her panic attack, it turns out, was the result of getting this news in her B-day, which I totally ignored, and getting served in the same week. So it's like the perfect crapstorm hit her life. Too much karma maybe? And she was just feeling like ending her life would be easier than fighting me, and this disease alone, etc. Losing everything, and now losing her life on top of it. That she also didn't also want me to somehow end up bankrupt from her medical debt likely to be incurred. That her life insurance and giving me the house totally free now would make for a nest egg I could totally start over with. But ultimately, I convinced her that her being around and fighting this with everything possible is the only thing I want for and from her. That I am not a reason to end herself, etc. So that's what I have been doing for now. Riding up and down the highways for work, visiting my parent, the hospital, my friend's place, and now back to my old home for more things she needed. She has since been moved to a regular room, since her doctors have determined she is no longer a danger to herself. She has had more testing done, and today we get the results of what stage it is precisely. But we have been told that from the preliminary exams it's at least stage 2B or higher. If she has a chance that it's not stage 4, that is something we can handle, I guess. If it is stage 4, we are going to have a shortened but terrible ending. I'm typing this up sitting in the hospital cafeteria waiting for the oncology department to come give us more results and details. I am the type to do anything for anyone. And had her actions not driven me away, I would be a broken down mess, not that I haven't in private. But once again I am being the strong one for both of us and trying to stay optimistic, which is totally against my pessimist nature. Here is the biggest thing likely to happen if it's not a lost cause. She will likely have major emergency surgery and chemo, after which time she will need care and help. I have agreed to be there to help her get through at least the surgery, chemo, and recovery. If it's the best case scenario. I haven't yet said I would move in and stay with her, though that would likely be what I'd have to do. I also haven't explicitly told her, but it hasn't changed my mind about divorce. I have talked to my lawyer about what it all means, and if we can still be considered separated at this time. Which they say we can consider this period in-house separation during this time as long as certain things don't happen. Which would be impossible anyway. My other question is how I can avoid incurring part of her medical debt from this, since it's likely to delay our proceedings. They stated we can amend our settlement agreement, but that she would need to agree that none of this is my liability. So is there any chance I can take care of her through this, not get emotionally connected again, and still move on with my life however this comes to an end? Update, for those still interested. Met with doctors finally. It's stage 2B and has spread, but still small tumors and not to bladder or farther organs like liver, which to my understanding is almost impossible to cure. She will have serious surgeries and chemo. I had already decided I would support her in her battle, regardless of her actions. I'm not going to leave her to her fate without some support. I know most will say that's not my job anymore, but I guess I'm not able to be that hardened person I thought initially, or that some on here say I should be. Oh well, I'm too old to care what people think, I'm doing it for me. I will continue with separation and divorce. Unfortunately, I will likely be moving back in for in-house separation to help her for a while. I have talked with my attorney though about the plan. My lawyer understands my stance and says we can continue counting any time I'm there as separated still as long as we don't sleep together, not a problem for many reasons. Also we need to agree she doesn't make it more difficult as it seemed her original plan was. I will make sure she understands a condition of my support is that she doesn't contest and drag the process out. But I will agree to give her time to get better situated. I admit I will feel guilty as if I am bargaining with her life, but I guess we all have our limits. She will be having surgery in the next few days for additional biopsies and a major surgery. The treatment plan so far is really aggressive, but better to stop the spread now. But I guess I don't need more details than that. In all likelihood, as my post-title states, her cheating has saved her life, as she would likely have caught this too late otherwise. So I guess someone in this situation gets a win. I appreciate all the comments and advice. I know the place it comes from is supporting, but know the choices are mine to make. I just want this part of my life to happen and end eventually. I know I can't keep feeling obligated to anyone besides my parent after this though. Attachments only seem to bring pain. But I guess in the end it's my fault for getting attached in the first place. I will continue to monitor this account and may make updates, but for now I guess this is my path to walk. Update. I'm in the hospital with WW since yesterday morning, and it's been as crappy as the rest of the things that have happened. First off, she is in a bad state. Coded in surgery, which had to be stopped because of uncontrollable blood pressure, etc. They did remove a lot of the cancer according to the surgeon, but not all. She would need further surgery, but it's too risky at this point. She also had a seizure last night which caused additional damage and hemorrhaging, and had to go back into surgery again last night even though it wasn't advised earlier, to stop the internal bleeding. She got out of that surgery earlier this morning, but has been in and out of consciousness. They are doing everything possible to keep her from having a stroke at this point. I'm not sure she is going to make it, but I'm just going on no sleep for 2 days and imagining the worst. She has been a little more stable, but it's still a very touchy situation. More stuff is that I used her work phone while waiting for her initial surgery and saw a message from her AP from about a few weeks ago from an unrecognized number. I had seen that she had his other number blocked on it, but kept their conversation as I requested. In it, he was asking how she was and apologizing for how he treated her the last time they saw each other. There is a whole story there that I don't want to get into. But it was something that happened because I tracked him down and was about to do something stupid and dangerous. It caused him to reach out to her, at which point she bargained to meet with him so he didn't get the law involved. But still happened. This was almost a month ago. Anyway, I did see her response to him that he was the biggest mistake of her life. She hated herself for ever meeting him, and she would never be in touch or see him again. And that for the safety of all involved, please don't contact her again. Now I don't take this as anything, since I found this, and it's not something she admitted to me. So I guess she still has her secrets. Though I was able to go through pretty much everything everywhere, including her work emails and personal accounts. I also looked back pretty far from before last year, and found nothing suspicious before then. Again, it doesn't change my mind about anything divorce or helping her, really, so I guess I'm just ranting since everything is so FD up right now. She may live or die not ever knowing that I know this, or that the only thing it proves to me is that she's still capable of lying to me. I don't even know if we will ever even have the chance to talk about it. I guess it really doesn't matter at this point anyway. So either way, I may be done with my posts at this point, since nothing else really matters if she's not alive, or has some brain damage, or is in a worse state than expected. I'll still do what I can for her and hope for the best. But in my nature, I expect the worst. Best I can hope for is to get some actual sleep before week's end. Update. So here's today's latest episode of my Craps How. WW's condition has been up and down, mostly down. They believe she had a small stroke, but is still hanging on and slightly improving over the weekend. While she's not close to out of the woods, doctors are a bit more optimistic. She's been conscious more though, in a lot of pain and on some strong meds. She was moved from intensive care and likely will go into rehab for a bit prior to coming home. Thursday, her best friend M got in touch with me. We hadn't talked since any of this went down. Also, I assumed she knew and was just on WW's side regardless. I had left her a voicemail the night after her first surgery in case they hadn't talked, to let her know she may not make it through. Saying if she wanted to, she should come see her, she should soon, in case the worst happened. Me and M were never very close, but they were friends since teens and went to college together also. But we have spent time together with her and her husband and family on different holidays and a couple vacations. So M called me Thursday and said how sorry she was that we were going through all this, and would like to come see WW. She asked if she could stay at the house. I assumed she maybe thought I was still living there, I guess. I told her she could stay and use WW's car if needed. I have been at the house part-time, so the house is not empty. But not every night, and it still causes me pain to stay in my own house. I agreed, since she has always been a really good person, and I know the thought of losing her friend was weighing on her. I picked her up from the airport Thursday evening, and we ended up going straight to the hospital after. On the way, we had time to talk more about WW's condition, what had happened since the surgery, etc. She finally tells me she knows what happened with us, but says the WW only told her everything a few days before she was initially hospitalized, when she got the news about the cancer, and was served. She told me they hadn't talked a lot last year, not like before, but she thought it was because WW was having trouble handling the news about M's own medical struggles and just was not good at handling potentially losing her best friend. But the kicker was that she had told WW about her own suspicions that her husband was cheating, and how they were working through it. But she was convinced it was just emotional, and that he got a crush on someone at work and tried to make it happen, but it didn't. That eventually he saw what he was losing, etc. I didn't say much about it other than to be sure she was verifying anything he was saying. I hadn't seen anything about this in WW's text convos, but considering we are all over 50, we're all probably phone call over text people, so it kind of makes sense. The absolute irony and slap in the face to both of us was how she was advising her on how to approach him about it and handle their marriage counseling. How she was helping her set boundaries and demand the respect she deserved, etc. M tells me how they had argued a lot when she told her. And she said she wasn't sure they could still be friends after knowing how deceitful she was to both her and me. She said she even cursed her out and said that she deserved what was coming to her in the divorce. Now, this is not a cursing type of woman, she's pretty religious and straight-laced. M said that WW had called her a few times after, but she had ignored the calls. Also, why she didn't answer my call when I originally reached out to her. Figuring I was trying to get her more involved. But when she heard my message, she knew she couldn't go without seeing her again if the worst happened and didn't want it to be their last words. So she called me to come visit. We spent a lot of time together this weekend. No, not in any wrong way, but she did give me some more insights after her visits with WW. We talked almost every night until very late. It was kind of nice, since she never pushed me to stay together. But I could tell after each visit she was getting softer on her. Finally, last night she told me something I didn't expect. That WW had asked her to talk to me about DNR etc. with her. And that she wasn't sure if things got worse that I could take her off life support. Also, if her condition worsened, that she wanted to end her life and not suffer more or live with major disabilities. She asked M if the time came and I reached back out to her about it, or if she could not deal with outcome, that she wants her to convince me to let her go. I'm not even sure what circumstance other than being brain dead is legal here. I'm going to be speaking to her about this tonight. But don't really know what to say. I'm very much the type who doesn't agree with keeping people alive who are suffering and would probably do the right thing in the right circumstance. But I can't agree to anything more than that, and I would never be sure if I would be doing it out of my own wants to be done with this or not. Even in the right medical scenario, I think I would have to live with a ton of guilt about this forever. I'll be speaking with my therapist about this also, but my appointment isn't until later in the week. Quick edit. I asked her friend M if she would assume medical POA over wife before she left, and she is considering it. I will also ask her one kind of close relative. They live far, but I can't guarantee this happens, but I'm not going to make anything but legal decisions. Also spoke with lawyer briefly, and we have a meeting scheduled tomorrow. But I'm telling her tonight I know what she wants, but I can't agree to it now.